There we go. Friday, the 18th of August. We are live. We are live everywhere. We are live in more places than Sky News right now. And super excited to be able to bring 8 really good questions to people today on this live webinar. I'm joined with 2 awesome people from Soteria Planning. We've got Claire, who's going to give us loads of quality answers around will writing, LPAs, and really get sort of deep diving into a lot of these questions and myth busting, if you like, as well. And Soteria founder Jamie, you may have seen him around. He plays a bit of football. He likes a bit of social media. So you may have seen Jamie around as well. And we're going to get stuck in and put him on the spot. So I know he loves a live video, as you may have seen with my live video earlier on. So if you are joining us, before I go to the guys, if you're joining us, just because we're live and we want to know, if you could drop us a like and just let us know you can hear us. If you can comment and just say good afternoon, happy Friday. The rain appears to have gone, but just anything you want to comment, any questions throughout the live show as well, we will answer them. We will get to your questions as well live. So just comments and drop us a like just to let us know you can hear us. Thank you very much, Jody, for doing exactly that as requested. So as people join, look, here we go. We've got Jody saying hello already. We've got
Hi, Jody.
We've got Akil saying, oi, oi, happy Friday, guys and girls. That's absolutely perfect. So keep your questions coming in. Someone on LinkedIn is also saying happy Friday all. So good to see everyone joining us. Claire, how are you first and foremost? How's your week been?
Yeah, it's been a manic, crazy, busy week and lots going on.
Good stuff. Jamie, life is good?
Life is good. For lots of people, they struggle in the summer holidays due to obviously children at home, things changing. For me, it's my little bit of freedom. I hope my wife's not watching this, but it's quite good because she's a teacher, so she's off work, she's looking after the kids, she's taking all that stress. Means I get to go to work without doing the school runs, no school pickups.
You've said it live now, so it cannot be deleted.
I realise that.
Congratulations on your first live error 2 minutes in. Love that. Absolutely love that. Claire, I'm going to go to you with this question first. These questions have come from clients of yours that are frequently asked, so we think it's going to offer the most value to the audience. So the first question is, in simple terms, why should someone get a will and what is a will?
So in the most basic of terms, a will is a legal document that determines what happens if you were to die. So there are 2 essentially main elements: what happens to your finances, your assets, your house, your bank, your personal possessions, all of those sorts of things. But the other aspect that it covers that's really important as well is guardianship for minor children if both parents were to pass away. So it's not just about money, it's about looking after your kids as well. And really, anybody over the age of 18 should have a will, regardless of what your assets are or regardless of your situation. It's really important. It makes the process much easier if you were to pass away, and it just ensures everything's clearly documented. There's no confusion, there's no ambiguity. It just makes it much easier to get everything sorted if you were to die.
Because we spend our whole life building our assets, building our finances, having children as well, but for those that are fortunate enough to do so. So it's almost the security and the coverage of making sure that if the worst case scenario is to happen and we were to pass away, that those 3 corners or triangles of life are kind of looked after, I guess, is in its simplicity for people out there, right?
Absolutely. I mean, the only guarantee, unfortunately, that we have in life is we are going to die. So a will just makes sure that that process, when it happens, is carried out properly, efficiently, minimises disputes, streamlines all the processes afterwards, and makes sure everybody's clear on what happens and when.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going into question 2. Jamie, I'm going to throw this one at you because it follows nicely into what we just spoke about. When's the right time to start thinking about getting a will?
Yeah, so for me to answer that question, Ian, last year I went to a conference all about will writing, really exciting stuff. And a guy presented and he said, well, who needs a will? And the message that came across was quite simple. Okay, if you've got someone that you love and you've got something that you care about, you should have a will. So it might be that actually you've got a watch and you've got a nephew and you want to give your nephew that watch. That could be a good enough reason for you to write a will. Now, at Soteria, what we try to do is we try to partner with people of authority, key people of influence, whether that be accountants for people that run their own business, whether that be mortgage advisors, the people that help people buy their property, financial advisors that help people retire. I would absolutely love to partner with midwives. Let's help those people that are having their babies get their wills in place. The midwives help people strap their children in, make sure you can feed them, make sure you can dress them, but we don't make sure that the family is suitably protected, but we absolutely should. So any midwives out there, slide into my DMs.
There's another error you've made within 6 minutes of going live. Great answer. I'm sure the conference you went to was exhilarating, and but what it is important for people that are watching and listening to this is that Jamie and Claire are doing the hard work. They're going to the conferences, the education, the webinars, reading the blogs and the new legislation to ensure that when you come and see the experts, that you're protected with the right information. So I love the dedication there as well. And I'm just going to throw into the comments for everyone the Soteria Planning website. So if you are watching after we've gone live, obviously you can still ask us questions, but you can check out the website. You can book any appointments in there as well. Let's go back to these questions then. So number 3, going to yourself, Claire, with this one. So the question from one of the clients was, so you've got your will done, great, but are you set forever, or is there more to it?
Well, I mean, a lot of people think you've done your will, you put it in the cupboard, you don't think about it for the next 15, 20 years. And for lots of people, that is what happens. But actually, if you think back 5, 10, 15 years ago, your life is probably very different to what it is now. So it is something that you need to continually keep under review. Generally, we say every 3 to 5 years, have a look at it, read it through. Are those people still in your life? Does it still apply? But also, if there's any sort of big changes in your life, if you have a new child, if you start up or wind up a business, if you buy or sell a property, they're all major trigger points that you should really consider reviewing your will and the provisions that you have in place, because time is, your life constantly changes over time. So your will should sometimes be updated to reflect that. And as I say, it might just be a simple task every couple of years, just having a read through, or it might be, I don't actually know if I need to update it, booking an appointment with us and we'll talk it through with you.
I see. Okay, so I mean, really, a lot of people probably are sat on a will that they think is protecting them, but so much has happened in the last couple of years that it needs a total review in reality.
Yeah, and a lot of clients that do come to us will say, one of the first questions we ask, do you already have a will? A lot of clients will say, yep, I wrote a will 10, 15, 20 years ago, don't know what it is. Most of those people aren't around anymore. So it's actually trying to be a bit more proactive and not waiting the 15, 20 years, review it regularly over time, because then it's not going to be such a big task as well. It's going to be more manageable, because if you think of the changes that you have in 15 years, there's probably going to be a lot to consider. Whereas if you're breaking it down into bite-sized chunks, it's not going to seem so overwhelming. It's not going to be such a big deal. It's just something that becomes part of your routine life admin.
Fair enough. Good points. What we got here? We've got someone saying hello. We've got someone coming in from LinkedIn. What do we call male midwives? Male mid-husbands? I think it's a great point, Jamie. I'll ask my sister to get in touch. So someone already.
Thank you very much, LinkedIn user.
Yeah, already relating to something that we've mentioned there as well. So thanks for everyone that's watching on LinkedIn. Love that as well. I'm really pleased that this question has gone to you, Jamie, because I've heard you talk passionately about this before on a Zoom call. So someone has said, DIY will, yay or nay? Could anything go wrong by doing your own will, doing it online, WH Smith's, wherever you want to go? What could go wrong by doing your will yourself?
Simply, you get it wrong. Now, obviously, you could also get that outcome with using a professional. But if we look at percentages, you're more likely to get something right if you engage a builder to build your house rather than you building your house yourself. Now, if we look at what a DIY will looks like, it could be a pack that you just fill in from W.H. Smith. You'll answer a load of questions. But do you actually understand what you're answering? It could be that you're online and you're answering questions. Now, when you're answering questions online, okay, two things come up. Number one, nobody is coming back to you saying, have you thought about this? So if you've got a 75-year-old who might be writing a will online, okay, don't judge, because they might, okay. They might be putting their 76-year-old spouse as their sole executor. No replacement executors. Now that is an area of advice where we would say, well, what if something happened to both of you? Who would those executors be? Now, the other thing is, quite often when you see these online will writing sites, it says your will be checked by a solicitor. What does that mean? Does that mean that the solicitor is going to ring you up, spend an hour understanding your needs, spend an hour advising you, spend an hour drafting your document? Is that what it means? Or does it just mean that you've kind of put everything in that will that maybe needs to be done, or that you've signed it correctly? Now, officially, a will could be written on a napkin as long as it's signed and it's witnessed. Okay, just a disclaimer for this video: don't write your will on a napkin. Okay, at least use A4 paper. But in reality, it's something that people do to get peace of mind. So is doing it themselves going to bring them that peace of mind? Or is engaging a professional more likely to give them that peace of mind? Going back to the percentages.
It'd be great if there was a document that explained your process in Soteria. And just like that, I have one.
Like you've prepared for this, Ian.
Yeah. So you talk about a DIY will being something on a napkin. This is obviously a document that you can send, or clients can ask to get. It's a really good kind of 6-page digital brochure, 7-page brochure if you include the heading, and it gives people an idea on what everything is going on in Soteria. But this is the process. Now we've kind of covered wills that you guys go through when dealing with a client. So do you want to just quickly talk through these kind of 6 steps, and I'll scroll down to step 6 when you're ready?
Yeah. So, I mean, essentially, when it comes to writing a will, a lot of our inquiries are for people that know they need to write a will. Now, that knowledge might come from people telling them. It might come from just from what they've read. Okay, they've had a child, they know they need to write a will, but they've not actually got around to doing it. So for us, okay, what's really important is for us to always book an initial free consultation. Now, the term free consultation, what that actually means is we're going to give you some time, okay, free of charge, to help you understand what's involved. Okay, now during that time, we're also going to be asking you some questions so that we can understand what's involved from your point of view. Okay, now during that meeting, you will get a gauge as to whether you're happy to work with us. Okay, and 9 times out of 10, at the end of that meeting, once we've kind of understood and clearly explained the process, the information needed to move forward, we can put a date in the diary to get everything done. Now, we would never expect people to know everything that they want to do, okay, before an initial meeting. I'll give you a scenario. Our typical client here at Soteria is professional couple, young children, and they'll come to the call, and what they'll say is if one person dies, it goes to the other person. If they die, it goes vice versa. If they both die, it goes to the kids. Now, of course, there's lots of conversation there to be had around, is that the right thing? Is it not the right thing? And it's personal preference to the client. We can give them the tools, but they do the work. What we would also help them understand is, well, when you've got minor children, there'll be times where, in this scenario, all 4 of you are in the same car or same plane. What happens if? Do you know what happens if? A lot of people write a will because they want that clarification. What happens if? And that's what we help them do.
Love that. All right, awesome stuff. Sounds like someone's knocking on the door trying to get a will already, Jamie, for you right there. So let's get stuck into this one. Going to you with this one, Claire. Lasting power of attorney. What's the deal, and why have one?
Yeah, so lasting powers of attorney we generally see as just as important as a will. So a lasting power of attorney caters for if you were unable to make your own decisions. So that could be due to an accident, it could be due to an illness, it could even be something temporarily like, effects of medication or an addiction maybe that affects your ability to make proper decisions. So a lasting power of attorney means that you can appoint individuals that will act on your behalf if you can't make your own decisions. So it's really key. If you're in hospital or you've had an operation or you have a stroke, essentially you need people that you trust to be able to manage your bank account, pay your bills, potentially if it's sort of a long-term care situation, sell your property. You also want someone that you can trust to make key medical decisions about your treatment. What sort of treatments do you want to consent to? Do you want to be resuscitated in the worst case scenario? These types of documents mean that the people that you trust can take on board those decisions, and without it, they don't have a lot of authority. So they're really, really important, and they have to be done whilst you can make your own decisions. Once you've lost that capacity, it's sort of too late. There's a completely different process that has to be followed. So really, really important, just as important as a will, because actually, if you can't make your own decisions, you really need someone to be there and make those key decisions for you.
Scary stuff,
just if
isn't
I
it? I
can-
guess. Sorry, Jamie, go on.
Sorry, I was going to say, just if I can add a bit on there. So typically, society associates a lasting power of attorney being needed for an older person due to the potential vulnerability, the potential concern of Alzheimer's, dementia. But of course, you think about an older person. I'm talking about somebody who's 70 years plus. And in that scenario, most of the time, there's no mortgage. Most of the time, there's no financial dependence. So if that individual lost mental capacity, the issue or the impact is an emotional impact, because all of us would want to support our loved ones. Now, obviously, without the LPA, we wouldn't be able to support our loved ones. Now, if you think about us on the call, so think of you and me, Ian, okay, business owners, mortgages, young children, dependent wives. Okay, now I'm not concerned about losing mental capacity due to Alzheimer's, dementia, or being vulnerable. Of course, that could happen to me at my age, could happen to you at your age. The percentage on that is very, very low. But we could have a car accident. You do quite a lot of running. You could fall over and hit your head. Okay. Now, we would always explain the challenges, the risks to our clients and allow them to make those decisions. Now, if something happened to you and everything in your name is frozen, is that a problem for people around you? Is that a problem for your employees if the business bank account can't be accessed? Is it a problem for your wife if the mortgage payment can't be paid? We don't need to answer those questions, do we?
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing I need to do is put a disclaimer on calling my wife dependent, just for when I see her later on this evening, because she probably won't be happy with that, to be fair.
Sorry, Rael.
And timing around LPAs, so lasting power of attorney abbreviated to LPA. So timing around an LPA. The question that I guess, listening to your point there, Claire, is, do you often find that an LPA is being suggested by a family member because it's already got too late? Obviously, prehab is always better than rehab, but in this case, is that something that's quite common? Is there a duty of care to family members and loved ones to be aware of deterioration and therefore almost making it as a suggestion?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like Jamie said as well, we typically associate lasting powers of attorney with the older generation and with age-related illnesses. But actually, the consequences of younger people not having these in place are probably much bigger. So generally, if like Jamie says, if you've got a mortgage, if you're owning a business, you've got financial dependence, you really need to consider setting up a power of attorney, because the earlier that it's in place, the better. That the entire process of actually registering a lasting power of attorney can take up to 6 months. So you don't want to be leaving that too late when sort of capacity is starting to diminish, because you're potentially running out of time. So the earlier that you can get it in place, the better. You don't have to appoint just one attorney, so we can try and future-proof the documents as much as possible. We try and think about as many future scenarios as we can so that we're accounting for different circumstances to make sure that you're protected for much longer to come. But really, if you've got any sort of, major, even health decisions as well, as I say, it's not just about the finances, it's about the health and welfare aspect as well. If you're in a situation where you can't make your own decisions, you want to make sure that, your partner or your sister or your parents can make those decisions for you. So really, the earlier you can get it in place, the better.
Yeah, very, very important stuff. And as I sit here now, even though I know a lot of this stuff, it's kind of really important to have it highlighted and just get people thinking. So Jodie's flowing a question in here, which Jamie, I'll come to you and you can highlight on that point. So Jodie's on Facebook. She said 1 million people in the UK are living with the effects of a long-term brain injury. Definitely a product consider earlier in life rather than later, which I guess you agree on, Jamie.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I also think that sometimes social media doesn't make the process better for people. I often see on social media sometimes people asking for recommendations for the companies that can help them out, and quite a lot of the time people will say it's easy, go online, do it yourself. And of course there are some people that would be able to use the government system to be able to draft their own LPAs, get all the settings correct. When I say the settings, whether attorneys should act jointly and independently, solely, make sure all the preferences and instructions suit the donor's needs, make sure they're signed correctly, be able to deal with the Office of the Public Guardian. Now, there are some people that would find that easy, but telling somebody else that that's easy, in my opinion, is a bit risky, because what one person finds easy, another might not. And again, as mentioned by Claire, it's a document that is really, really important. And if you get it wrong, you're not necessarily going to know you've got it wrong until it's too late. So it's really important, even if you decide to do it yourself, maybe take some advice before you do that. And just on my point, Ian, I would like to big up those dependent wives that we mentioned earlier, because I've had a message from my wife who is not dependent. She's fuming. So I'd like to apologise there to anybody I caused offence.
Shout out to the independent wives. Absolutely. No, great questions. We've got some comments coming in here.
Independent.
Right, so this is someone on LinkedIn. I haven't read it before putting it live, so let's just check. So I found people seem to confuse power of attorney with being an executor. People often don't realise that power of attorney is in lifetime only. Once a person passes, unless there is a will, they are not entitled to the estate, in brackets, depending on where they sit in the family. Claire, I can see you nodding there. So do you want to highlight on that one as well?
Yeah, I think that's a common myth and misconception. A lot of people think executors and attorneys are the same, and quite often the people appointed in those roles are the same people, but an attorney can only be appointed in your lifetime, and a lasting power of attorney essentially ends when a person dies, at which point the will takes over and the executor's role is to administer the estate and carry out the wishes of the will. So they are very separate roles. Attorneys deal with making decisions in your lifetime, and executors carry out the wishes of the will when you die. So, as I say, although quite often your executors and your attorneys are going to be the same people, they are separately defined roles in separate documents that need to be established separately.
Well answered. Great point and great questions. Thank you. For everyone listening, if you're just joining us, it's live. Feel free to pop your questions in the comments and we will get to them, absolutely. Hands up, this was a question that I threw in there. I wanted to know the answer to this because it's something I don't know. So enduring powers versus lasting powers. Spill the beans. What is the difference, please? I'll go to you, Jamie, on this one.
Thanks for that. So yeah, anybody who'd done some estate planning prior to October 2007, Claire,
Yeah.
Basically, a lasting power of attorney wasn't a document back then, and the enduring power of attorney was the only document that you could do. And whilst the enduring power of attorney has been discontinued, it is still valid. So if you've got people that have got it in place, okay, and it reflects their current wishes, it is still valid, but there are reasons as to why they might want to review it and update to a lasting power of attorney. And those reasons could include the fact that an enduring power of attorney cannot be registered unless somebody loses mental capacity. So if you think about a 80-year-old relative who may have mental capacity but be vulnerable, okay, you wouldn't be able to use an enduring power of attorney to support them, but you would be able to use a lasting power of attorney. And that support might come in the form of their monthly banking, their food shopping, but an enduring power of attorney wouldn't work in that scenario. You've also got the fact that an enduring power of attorney just covers property and financial affairs. It doesn't cover anything to do with health and welfare. And I often hear a comment that property and financial affairs is more important than health and welfare. Well, I can't speak for everyone, but I want my loved ones who are closest to me, who speak to me all day, every day, making decisions on my health, okay, rather than somebody that doesn't know me, that may have had a really bad day, may well be qualified and professional to make a decision, but actually I want my loved ones to be involved in that process. Other reasons on an enduring power of attorney, an EPA as it's often known, if you've got more than one attorney, okay, they would be acting jointly, which means that if one of them was to pass away before you, okay, you often find that you've got no EPA anymore. You wouldn't be able to go down the lasting power of attorney route, because for the EPA to be active, you would have lost mental capacity. So my advice is anybody who's got an enduring power of attorney in place, get it out, review it.
Good advice. Solid. You seemed nervous about me asking you that one, Jamie, and you answered it very well. So well done on that. So just before we get to the last question, which is a really important question, so hang around for that. I just wanted to highlight for anyone, if you want to get hold of this document and really get that guide to writing out your will, then you can get in contact with the team. It's got all the information of kind of why, what's on offer, obviously the step-by-step process that we spoke about, things to consider. This tick box exercise here is vital for anyone. And then the extra bits that come into things like we haven't touched on trusts today, but LPAs we have. And then what actually happens if you don't have a will? This diagram potentially could blow your mind. So if you want to get hold of that document, please do get in contact with the team. You can obviously find all of that information or the contact details on the website as highlighted there as well. And Jamie and Claire and the team at Soteria are obviously be more than happy to help you. So the last question, I'm going to ask Claire first for 2 points and then Jamie 2 points. So really vital one. So now people are ready to choose an expert to help get their will or LPA. Why Soteria Planning? What is unique? 2 key reasons, Claire, that someone should get in contact with Soteria.
Well, I think just picking up on what Jamie said earlier is, we're about educating our clients and having those conversations. We're not going to be throwing out all these legal jargon and forcing you to make decisions on the spot there and then. The whole point of how we operate is to have that initial conversation, get to know our clients, understand their individual circumstances and concerns, give them the relevant information and the things that they need to consider so that we empower them to make their own decisions rather than telling them what we think they need to do. We sort of bring up questions, we challenge, their perceptions of things and give them the opportunity to find their own path. We're not, we do draw up their will and we do give them advice, but we give it in such a way that it's client-led. We're not telling them you must do this, that and the other, and they have no idea what that actually means. We really sort of drill down into it, explain the different options, explain how that is going to impact in the future, and try and empower them to make their own decisions.
I guess the phrase, you don't know what you don't know, is so
Exactly.
important in this. That's why someone should come to you, is the napkin analogy that Jamie used earlier. But if you don't know the questions to ask yourself,
Yeah.
it just
And
doesn't help.
if you think about all these online questionnaires and AI and all of those sorts of things, not even the most robust AI can replicate what we at Soteria and similar teams to us do. You know, we pick up on body language, we pick up on, you know, reading between the lines, asking the right questions. An online questionnaire or AI isn't going to pick up on that. The amount of times that we have clients that come to us and say, oh yeah, it's really straightforward, this and this, and actually when you go through and have conversations, they've got estranged children, they've got a blended family, they've got a new partner and a previous spouse that they haven't yet divorced. You know, all of those things need to be considered, and sometimes clients aren't actively giving that information at the outset. They need to build a rapport with us that they can trust us, because sometimes it's really sensitive information they're giving us. A questionnaire and an online form isn't going to give you that. So it's really important to actually get some proper advice, because, as I say, a lot of people think it's easy and straightforward, but actually when they speak to a professional, they suddenly realise, oh my gosh, like there is so much I haven't considered. Thank goodness I've had this conversation, because if I didn't, it could be potentially catastrophic.
I think it's probably important in any industry, but particularly in this area of life, that when you go online and there is an option to do a cheap or free online service like this, it is made with no agenda other than to make money. That's the only reason. It's not there to advise. It's not there to be the best product. It's there with no reason for either data capture or to make money. And when you're talking about your life and everything that you work so hard for and your loved ones, that's where you need to build trust with an individual. So really good point. Jamie, can you follow that?
Yeah, I think if you think about two people that often come to see me, number one, people that have had writing a will on their list of things to do and they've just never got around to doing it. So my first question back to them is, why now? Number two is, I quite often get people coming to write a will for the first time that have already been through this process. So they've already had an initial consultation. In some respects, they've already engaged with that professional, but they've got to the stage where draft documents have been produced and they're not happy. For whatever reason, they haven't concluded that process. They haven't signed off their wills. And I'll always say to them, why? What stopped you? Could it be that the process wasn't clearly explained to you? What we have to understand is that different people learn in different ways. What we have to understand is that different people want to be treated how they want to be treated. Now, if you look at how flexible we are as a company, okay, when we get an inquiry, we'll say, how do you want to work? Do you want to come into our office, our lovely HQ in Binfield? Do you want to do a Zoom call? Do you want us to come to you within reason, just in case there's anyone in Stoke listening to this? Now, it's really important, because already we're making them feel comfortable by asking that question. Now, I will see and speak to clients sometimes on a Sunday evening. What else am I going to do on a Sunday evening? Now, it's really, really important that us being flexible, being able to offer support, life experiences. I mentioned earlier about our I wouldn't say it's our target client, but our client that comes to us that have got young children, they want to appoint legal guardians. I'd probably say more than 50% of those introductions, they struggle with who they should appoint as their legal guardians. Understandably so. Well, having written a will myself, having got minor children myself, I'm able to draw on not only my experiences, but other experiences that I may have experienced. And I'm able to share those with the client to help them maybe make their decision. But what we're not about is we're not about making decisions for people, because otherwise people don't actually know what they've got. I want to be able to say to somebody, what does your will do? Tell me what it does. And I want them to be able to tell me. Because essentially, if they're no longer here, they've appointed trusted individuals in their will to deal with their affairs. So we need to know what it does.
Lovely. Great feedback from both of you on the questions. Great value offered to people watching. If we're not live anymore, but you are watching this as a playback, still drop your questions in the comments, because the questions will be answered at any point, and they're more than happy to get in contact with you directly if it's specific. I think to highlight, if you are watching in Stoke, we probably can do a face-to-face one in Stoke via Soteria, because one of the team is up there. So yeah, fear not. If you're anywhere in the country, still drop us a message here at Soteria, because I'm sure we'll be able to help. But Claire and Jamie, thank you very much. For everyone watching, have a lovely weekend. Hopefully you found this helpful, and you'll be back next month, I believe. Yeah.
Indeed.
Yep. Thank you, Deborah, for checking out everything on LinkedIn. Excellent webinar. Thank you all. So it's always great to get that feedback. Keep the likes and comments coming, even when we're not live. And yeah, you'll be back with another live in a month's time. But in the meantime, if you've got any questions, the website's in the comments. Just check in anytime. Give us a call, email, or whatever method of communication suits you. The guys at Soteria are happy to help.